Greetings everybody. Welcome to the tutorial. This tutorial is based on the regulation of gene expression through operons in prokaryotic cells. Regulation of gene expression allows the cell to switch on or off its transcription machinery depending upon the cell's need for its protein product. This facilitates energy conservation in prokaryotes. A coordinated gene expression is possible in an arrangement where all the genes belonging to the same metabolic pathway are under the control of a single promoter and operator, thereby belonging as a single transcriptional unit. This is known as an operon. The operon consists of a coding region and a regulatory region. So the coding section includes a group of functionally or structurally related genes that a single on or off switch can control. And the regulatory segment consists of the promoter and operator, where the operator is generally positioned within the promoter. Hence, the question arises, how does the prokaryotic cell sense the microenvironment? Activators and repressors mediate this control regulation. The activators and repressors are controlled by another set of molecules through allosteric interactions. As the name suggests, the activator can activate the transcription and the repressor can block it by interacting with the promoter's operator region. Hence, an operon is a unit of DNA that includes the operator, promoter, and the structural genes. To further understand the concept of an operon, we will focus on two different operons used by the prokaryotic cells, the tryptophan operon and the lac operon. So the tryptophan operon is used by the bacterial cell, say the E. coli bacteria, which is present inside the human gut, to regulate the synthesis of tryptophan. Tryptophan is a constituent amino acid present in proteins. If tryptophan is sufficiently available to the bacterial cells, then the bacteria will not synthesize the proteins required for the biosynthesis of tryptophan. It will absorb and utilize the tryptophan available to them from the host. This is to avoid the wasting of energy needed for the tryptophan biosynthesis. On the other hand, if tryptophan is not available, tryptophan biosynthesis occurs inside the bacterial cell. Before moving on to the trypoperon, let us look at the regulating the metabolic pathway involved in tryptophan synthesis. In the pathway for tryptophan synthesis, an abundance of tryptophan can do two things. First, it will inhibit the activity of the first enzyme in the pathway through feedback inhibition, and this is a rapid response. The symbol, a red circle enclosing a negative sign, denotes inhibition. And the other thing what this abundant tryptophan can do is go and repress the expression of the genes encoding all subunits of the enzymes in the pathway. This is a long-term response. In tryptophan biosynthesis, 5 structural genes are involved. Genes TRPE and TRPD encode the subunits of enzyme 1. Gene TRPC encode the subunits of these enzyme 2, while TRPB and TRPA encode the 2 subunits of enzyme 3. The genes were named sequentially as TRPA, B, and so on, even before the order in which their protein products work in the metabolic pathway. So here is the trypoperon and its components. The trypoperon is known as a repressible operon, and it has the following components. A repressible gene segment, that is TRPR, which encodes for a repressor which is in an inactive state. A promoter region where RNA polymerase binds, an operator region where when this repressor gets activated will bind, and then a coding region for 5 genes as shown, TRPE, TRPD, C, B, and A, coding for the enzymes required in the tryptophan biosynthesis as just explained. So here The 5 genes are clustered together on the bacterial chromosome. A single promoter serves all the 5 genes, and thus the entire mRNA is translated together. This kind of an mRNA is called as a polycistronic mRNA. But a single polycistronic mRNA will give rise to 5 separate polypeptide chains. This is made possible by having the separate start codon and a stop codon for each polypeptide chain. Now what happens in a tryptophan operon in two different conditions, that is when tryptophan is absent and when tryptophan is present. First is when tryptophan is absent, which is usually the case, TRPR is constitutively expressed but in an inactive form. So it doesn't bind anywhere in the operator region, and the RNA polymerase can easily bind to the promoter to carry out the transcription of all the structural genes required for the biosynthesis of tryptophan. Hence, when there is no tryptophan, the genes or the trypoperon genes will be synthesized. Another condition is when tryptophan is present, which means the cell does not need any more tryptophan. In this condition, as tryptophan is sufficiently available, tryptophan binds to the TRP repressor and activates it. So here, tryptophan acts as a co-repressor as it is required to activate the repressor. Activation changes the shape of the repressor so that it can now bind to the operator site. Such binding of repressor blocks the RNA polymerase to bind to the promoter, and hence there is no transcription. So, when tryptophan is unavailable to the bacterial cells, the repressor is in an inactive state and the trypoperon is switched on. While when the tryptophan is available, the repressor is in an active state and the trypoperon genes are switched off. Lactose. It is what is available for dinner. That may not sound delicious to us, but lactose is the primary sugar in milk and you probably don't want to eat it plain. Lactose can be an excellent meal for E. coli bacteria. However, they will only gobble up lactose when other better sugars like glucose are unavailable. With that for context, what exactly is the lac operon? The lac operon is an operon or a group of genes with a single promoter transcribed as a single mRNA. The genes in the operon encode proteins that allow bacteria to use lactose as an energy source. E. coli needs to break down lactose into simple sugars like glucose and galactose before consuming it. The enzyme beta-galactosidase aids this, which is encoded by a gene located on the lac operon. Unlike the trypoperon, the lac operon is switched on in the presence of lactose. Structurally similar to the trypoperon, the lac operon also contains a promoter, operator, and functional genes, namely LAC-Z, LAC-Y, and LAC-A. These genes are transcribed as a single mRNA under the control of one promoter. LAC-Z encodes beta-galactosidase that splits lactose into the monosaccharides that can be fed into glycolysis. Similarly, LAC-Y encodes a membrane-embedded transporter called permease that helps bring lactose into the cell. LAC-A is transacetylase, but the relevance of which in the lactose metabolism is not entirely clear. In addition to these genes, the lac operon also contains the LAC-I gene upstream to the promoter. LAC-I gene codes for the lac repressor protein. The lac repressor is secreted in an active form and it gets in the RNA polymerase's way and keeps it from transcribing the operon. Let's take a closer look at the lac repressor and inducer and their roles in regulating the lac operon in the presence and in the absence of lactose. On the left side, as we can see here, when there is no lactose, that is when lactose is absent, the lac repressor binds tightly to the operator. It gets in RNA polymerase's way, preventing transcription. But when lactose is present, allolactose binds to the lac repressor and makes it let go of the operator. RNA polymerase can now transcribe the lac operon genes. This change in the lac repressor is caused by a small molecule, allolactose, which is an isomer of lactose. When lactose is available, some molecules will be converted to allolactose inside the cell. Allolactose binds to the lac repressor and makes it change shape so that it can no longer bind to the DNA. Allolactose is an example of an inducer, a small molecule that triggers the expression of a gene or operon. The lac operon is considered an inducible operon because it is usually turned off but can be turned on in the presence of the inducer allolactose. Here in this particular table, you can see the fundamental differences between the two different operon systems. Trip operon is a repressible operon and the lac operon is an inducible operon. The trip operon is usually switched on while the lac operon is usually switched off. The TRPR gene is non-contiguous, that is, it is not in continuity with the trip operon genes. The LAC-I is contiguous, that is, the LAC-I gene is in continuity with the lac operon genes. In the trip operon, the repressor by itself is in an inactive state, while in the lac operon, the repressor by itself is in an active state. Here, the tryptophan is a co-repressor, while here the allolactose is an inducer. Trip operon is an example of a typical biosynthetic pathway enzymes, while lac operon is an example of degradation pathway enzymes. E. coli bacteria can break down lactose, but it is not their favorite fuel. If glucose is around, they would much rather use that. Glucose requires fewer steps and less energy to break down than lactose. This phenomenon is called catabolite repression. However, if lactose is the only sugar available, the E. coli will go right ahead and use it as an energy source. Here, when certain bacteria, for example, are grown in a nutrient medium containing glucose and lactose, they grow at a logarithmic rate as long as glucose is available. When the glucose is depleted, the cells enter a stationary phase but soon begin to grow again at a logarithmic rate, though not quite as rapidly. This time, the logarithmic growth rate results from the metabolism of lactose. The stationary phase is the period during which the enzymes needed to utilize lactose are induced. To use lactose, the bacteria must express the lac operon genes which encode key enzymes for lactose uptake and metabolism. To be as efficient as possible, E. coli should express the lac operon only when the two conditions are met. First is lactose is available and second is glucose is not available. How are the lactose and glucose levels detected and how do changes in levels affect lac operon transcription? For this, two regulatory proteins are involved. First is the lac repressor, which acts as a lactose sensor. The other is the catabolite activator protein or CAP that acts as a glucose sensor. These proteins bind to the DNA of the lac operon and regulate its transcription based on the lactose and glucose levels. Let's take a look at how this works. When lactose is present, the lac repressor loses its DNA binding activity. This clears the way for RNA polymerase to bind to the promoter and transcribe the lac operon. That sounds like the end of the story, right? Well, not quite. As it turns out, RNA polymerase alone does not bind very well to the lac operon promoter. It might make a few mRNA transcripts, but it won't do much more unless it gets extra help from the catabolite activator protein. The catabolite activator protein binds to a DNA region just before the lac operon promoter and helps RNA polymerase attach to the promoter, driving high transcription levels. But CAP isn't always in an active state, that is, it not always have the ability to bind to the DNA. Instead, it is regulated by a small molecule called cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP binds to CAP, changing its shape and making it able to bind to DNA and promote transcription. CAP helps RNA polymerase bind to the promoter, resulting in high levels of transcription. Without CAP cannot bind to the DNA and is in an inactive state. CAP is only active when glucose levels are low, that is, the cyclic AMP levels are high. Thus, the lac operon can only be transcribed at high levels when glucose is absent. This strategy ensures that bacteria only turn on the lac operon and start using lactose after they have used up all of the preferred energy sources like glucose. When glucose is present or when the levels of glucose are high, no CAMP or cyclic AMP is made. CAP cannot bind to the DNA without cyclic AMP, so transcription occurs but only at a low level. So when does the lac operon really turn on? The lac operon will be expressed at high levels if two conditions are met. First is glucose must be unavailable. When glucose is unavailable, cyclic AMP level increases and it binds to the catabolite activator protein. The catabolite activator protein, when in an active state, will be able to bind to the DNA, and the bound cap helps RNA polymerase attach to the lac operon promoter, thereby expressing the lac operon genes. The second condition is that lactose must be available. If lactose is available, the lac repressor will be released from the operator because of the binding of the allolactose. This allows RNA polymerase to move forward on the DNA and transcribe the operon genes. These two events in combination, the binding of the activator and the release of the repressor, summarizes the positive and the negative regulation of the lac operon.